All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Survivor Buffs. We have a very special episode today. I know we've only been a podcast for about a month now, but believe it or not, we've already gotten a call from Jeff Probst, and he told me and Gideon to go ahead and cast Heroes versus Villains 2. He said we could make the cast all on his own. He'll do his best to get it. But he told us don't do it alone, get some help. Who better to get help from than the ultimate Survivor scholars here, Phil and Alexa, the Survivor specialists. Guys, thanks for coming on. How's it going?
Thanks for having us. I got to say, though, pretty ballsy move after we've had a podcast for over 5 years and Jeff hasn't reached out to us once, which probably indicates how much Jeff likes us. Pretty ballsy move to go ahead and ask us to come on. I don't know if this is going to get the same response you had hoped for from Mr. Probst there.
Yeah, I'm hoping he won't adjust to the cast too much after knowing that we helped influence it.
Yeah.
Never me.
But thanks for having us on. This will be a fun podcast.
Of course. So let me go ahead and share my screen here so everyone watching can see kind of what we're getting into here. Okay, so here's the perimeters or what exactly we're doing here today. So we are making a dream cast. Jeff Probst did not reach out to us. We're making a dream cast for Heroes versus Villains 2. And we're trying to make a realistic cast. So we're not just looking at like who would be like the ultimate dream cast that we'd love to see. Like we're trying to take into consideration who production might be wary of, who's kind of like lost the desire to play as far as we know. So we're trying to make a fan favorite dream cast / an actual realistic cast. So we're going to go one by one with these players and kind of put them in these tiers. As you can see, we got a heroes tribe, a villains tribe. We also have a maybe tribe if we're kind of on the fence of. We have blacklisted, which is a harsh word, saying you're blacklisted. Basically, what we mean by that is just it's sort of production that doesn't want you to come back, even if it's something as simple as Cochran maybe not coming back because of course he's a employee for CBS and I believe contractually he's not allowed to. Loss of desire, maybe someone like we'll get into the people later, but someone who we've heard through the grapevine or has talked on shows past that says they either are done with Survivor or at least want to take a break. And then there's just the classic nah category.
Well, I want to throw this out there right away, and I know Gideon hasn't even spoken on his own show yet, so maybe I'm jumping in too much here. But I do want to say I'm a little surprised looking at this that you don't have Gabby or the Godfather on there from 37 for a villain and a hero type role. I'm not seeing their pictures at all. Very popular season.
I was about to say that because if I remember correctly, we just had a podcast with the Godfather himself yesterday and said we would cast him as a villain. Come on,
I'm
Adam,
also impressed that there are 5 members from Nicaragua here. Not that the 3 of us are just like piling on here. That stuck out to me pretty much immediately.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think maybe I missed out on Carl. Who was the other person you said, Phil?
No, Gabby and Carl for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because especially Gabby, I don't think that she actually was necessarily a hero on the show, but that's how she came across to the audience. And I think she kind of has the Brenda factor where she could play as a hero or a villain. And Brenda is who I'm thinking of just because she's the first person I see there. But Brenda is very much a hero or a villain where, Cass is always going to be a villain. Debbie's always going to be a villain. But Monica Culpepper is kind of somebody who could fall into either category too. So I think that Gabby's actually an interesting one because when you think about the first heroes versus villains, look how Candace came out and played as a villain. She should have never been on the hero tribe anyway, but think about how she played as a villain. That could kind of maybe be the role that somebody like Gabby could fall into. She was incredibly popular. Ultimately, I think she would fall into the lack of desire category though. So maybe that's the reason why you left her off.
Yeah, for sure. No, it'd definitely be cool. And I definitely would love to see both Carl, probably more so Carl for me personally, but I'd be cool seeing them both back. But the graphic's been made at this point, so as I said, we're gonna do only seasons past the first heroes versus villains, and I did not include anyone from Winners at War. on this list, unless I flubbed. But I don't think I see
No,
anyone.
you did. Yeah, you did.
Okay. Okay. So if we want to kick right off with the first one, Nicaragua, we have Brenda, who Phil just mentioned. She's obviously played twice. Do we think that Brenda's kind of given everything she has to offer to the show at this point?
I think so. I mean, I feel like we got most of what Brenda has to offer, especially in fans versus favorites. And she kind of left a bad taste in everybody's mouth at that final tribal.
You mean, I'm sorry, you mean $100,000 winner Brenda Lowe from Fans vs. Favorites, right? She won like Player of the Season or something.
She was loved for
but
that.
But now looking back on it, it seems like the consensus is like, why did she have to do that? Like, just especially looking back on it, I feel like if she made that move in today's day and age, she would be crucified.
I think when you said Gideon, we got more than enough of her. I think that whole situation totally doesn't sit right with me, especially because Dawn had to apologize at the finale and Brenda was given $100,000 for it. So I think if you put her on, I think you got to put her in villains. I don't know how active she's been in the community. So the lack of desire could be there, but I'd put her in the NAS section.
Yeah, I think Brenda was also a complete dud her second season. The only reason that she even got that fan favorite thing was because of the one moment of her saving Dawn's teeth and then kind of getting screwed over by that. But what did she have the whole season? About 8 confessionals. She really had nothing. Nicaragua was much better for her, mainly because the rest of the cast stunk. She kind of showed that she couldn't really hold her own in a season with all-star caliber personalities, more so than players. I still think she was probably one of the best players out there. But in terms of personality, not really much going on there. And yeah, I think it's an ugly moment that ultimately Survivor's never going to want to have back, because then they awarded her for doing that, which is absolutely crazy. And I think it's just funny how everything seems great in the moment, and then in retrospect, we all open our eyes sometimes. So, that's how I feel about that. I'd put her in the nah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a section for her. I think she's a good first person to put in that section too, because she'll kind of be like the standard bearer for what it takes to be a nah. I feel like she's the face of the nah category. So
You're mean. Okay.
What a statement.
Okay, so we got Holly next. Holly's a weird one because I would like to see her back. I don't know if maybe this is the season.
I don't
for
know
her.
if Heroes versus Villains is the right season. Yeah, I agree.
I think you put her on the second chances because I think she had a bit. I am with you, Adam. I actually kind of liked her. I thought she, especially on a season that I personally don't particularly like, she has a good growth arc, and I feel like that's really not talked about because people don't like this season. But she starts off as a kind of a mess and ruining Dan's shoes that had no business being on the season in the first place, and then ends up putting herself in a pretty good position. So I think there's the redemption arc is there, but I wouldn't think of her as a hero or a villain.
Right.
I also think that the problem with Holly is she played on Nicaragua. I'd go as far as to say that, and I'm not saying this to be a dick. I'm saying this just in general. This is how I think Survivor even looks at it. Production. I think a discussion of Nicaragua is almost a waste of time because I feel like production hates Nicaragua. They hate everybody associated with it. They hate the whole Jane and Sash thing, which I see are your next two people. They hate that Jimmy Johnson pretty much quit, but they have to pretty much say he didn't quit. They hate the whole old versus young. They don't like Fabio as a winner. They don't like that Chase Rice has gone on to be a multimillionaire platinum selling artist who has done nothing to make a statement about Survivor ever, never acknowledges that he was on the show. They don't like Teflon Dan. They don't like any of it. Holly is really one of the only bright spots of it. And the fact that Marty Piombo has never played again pretty much signals to me that nobody from the La Spada tribe will, I think it was, or El Spada, whatever it was. They will never, ever, ever play Survivor again, in my opinion, just because I think Survivor has pushed them to the back burner. Holly Hoffman's now 55 years old. I don't think that's old by any means, and I think she could probably come out there and kick ass in Survivor. But that we have the four of us sitting here. If that Heroes versus Villains cast came out and Holly Hoffman's face was on there, people would go, what the hell is that? Like, that would be way more of a shocker than Danielle or Candace for sure.
Yeah, I think Nicaragua too had a lot of like characters that Survivor probably thought like, oh, this is going to be a big like character, like could potentially be like a coach level or Philip level. Well, I guess Philip hadn't come out yet, but that sort of caliber character, like you're like Rick or even like Fabio, and like they just didn't. It just never came into fruition. They were just all kind of there. So I'm with you there. Should we just throw her in the gnaw as well?
Yep.
So what do you guys feel about Jane? I almost feel like what you said about Jane during your Holly rants almost kind of is good enough to put her right here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think if anything, you can put Sash in the villains, but again, if we're taking this as realistically as possible, I don't think they pick him, but he's a good villain.
He's in the blacklisted section though. I think for sure with the whole BS that went on with production. I think he's absolutely in that section.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if I may need to do research on that.
Oh yeah, him and Jane had a situation. Allegedly,
but also Jane Bright goes on to win fan favorite season and is never mentioned again in Survivor history. So I'm pretty sure something really bad happened between Sash and Jane, and they have tried to sweep it under the rug.
Okay. Yeah, I think if anyone from Nicaragua would fit this season, I do think it would be Sash, and I do think it would be the Villains Tribe. If there's one thing I personally liked about Nicaragua, I actually was rooting for Sash. I was a lot younger at the time, and I have never. It's one of the seasons I've never personally gone back and rewatched, so that might change. But I was rooting for him. But what do you guys think? Blacklisted for Sash?
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Yeah, he's probably blacklisted.
Yeah.
Quick Google search.
All it is, and I mean, it's pretty much public knowledge now. All it is he essentially offered to pay off something of Jane's in exchange for going further. And supposedly Jeff Probst like completely shut down Tribal. This is a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what you can read on the internet. Totally shut down Tribal and tried to keep it off. And so that's why there's a theory that Sash got 0 votes because he wasn't allowed to get votes at Final Tribal Council. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it certainly adds to the fact that he will never play Survivor again.
Yeah, a quick Reddit Google search will give you that information, so that's not secret at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jeff will not blacklist us, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gets rid of our first Dark Ages season. Moving on to Redemption Island, a season Gideon holds near and dear to his heart.
You shut up, dude. Oh my gosh. It's already started.
Question that one.
I think every podcast we've done so far is always
I like it. Leave me alone, okay? God.
Take the wheel on the next two or next three then.
I don't want to see either one.
I'm gonna remove myself from the stream. See ya. Bye. Out. Thanks for the invite.
I think to start with Andrea, I feel like she's someone that production obviously really, really likes for some reason. I think her best game was definitely Karamoan, and even though that was her best game, I feel like there was no chance she was ever going to win that season. And I don't know if Heroes, and I hate to go 2 seasons now without putting anyone in Heroes and Villains, but I don't think Andrea would. Plus, she works for CBS now, right? So I don't think contractually she would be.
I don't think she does anymore.
She works for Entertainment Weekly now, right?
Yeah, she was able to get into Game Changers. I mean, I know how Phil feels about Andrea. I think I've seen enough of her. I don't mind her. However, I would not be shocked if Survivor put her on a Heroes versus Villains season. I wouldn't be shocked if they put her in a hero position at all.
As a Redemption Island fanboy, I agree with Alexa.
I 100% agree too. As somebody who doesn't really like Andrea's game at all, met Andrea in person, very nice. So this is not a personal thing. However, I hate her gameplay, despise it. I think it's terrible. I think it's super overrated. But she is exactly the type of person that I think CBS and SCG would end up putting on to the show as a hero. She's a strategic female player. That is what they want from their heroes. Think about the Heroes Tribe in that first time. It was literally people that we either knew were strategic, like Sari and Amanda, or people we were told were strategic, like Stephanie and Sugar and Candace. And so I think that is exactly why Andrea would end up being a hero for this season. And she's like iconic at this point. People know who she is, not because of Redemption Island.
This is our Dreamcast, so we're not doing it, right?
Is it our Dreamcast or is it the most realistic?
I was kind of going for a bit of half and half.
Okay.
So
I would put her at maybe for now, and she's going to end up moving into
that. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
That's fair.
I think she would be on one. I don't necessarily need it, so maybe it's the right spot.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get enough.
That's my stance.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to get enough to have 5 female heroes. Seriously, I don't know if we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also feel like if she hadn't done Game Changers, her chances maybe would have been a little better because it would have been at least a decent bit of time since. Yeah, I think maybe's good for her. Matt, in my opinion, is clear cut would be great for heroes because of how his whole praying and getting through the hard times on Redemption Island thing and beating all the challengers and but he's an awful Survivor player, and I just think he was put through so much that he wasn't expecting to go through. I feel like he would be great for the lack of desire category. I just feel like he was put through so much hardship on the show that he would never want to come back. I don't know. What do you guys think about Matt?
I don't know where I've heard this, but I'm pretty sure he has no interest in playing Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think he had interest in playing while he was there either. I don't think he had any clue what was going on. No, but also I just want to throw this out there. His cast photo looks eerily, creepily similar to Jimmy T's cast photo. It's really weird when it's kind of from a distance. I don't like that, especially since one is like 60 and the other's like 22.
I was getting Fabio vibes from the picture.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I thought
like
it was Fabio. I was like, is that Fabio? Huh?
But no, I don't think that Matt would play again. And I think the interesting thing here is when season 20 came out, everybody was so stoked about Heroes Villains and was mad players from season 1 weren't on it. If this would have happened at season 40, nobody would have been mad a player from season 21 wasn't on it, because that's how far Survivor had fallen from season 1 to season 21 in terms of character development, in terms of exciting characters. There's nobody from these early seasons that they haven't used multiple times that people are itching to have come back, I think, from these early 20 seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We have 3 blacklists in a row. Oh, sorry.
Especially too, like, especially with this, if we're looking at 21 to 40, because, one, like the 1 to 6, season area didn't have too many people on the heroes and villains side. I mean, Colby and Jerry, but I just don't feel like Survivor. I feel like it's more than just Nicaragua. I feel like Survivor is kind of in the same boat that a lot of fans are. I think they look at like the range from like Nicaragua up to Philippines is kind of like the dark ages as well. I don't think that's just a fan's perspective. I feel like production's got to feel the same way as well. So I think they, are hesitant when putting players from that era up on the board. So I'm not too surprised that we've yet to put anyone as a lock for the season. Philip, I feel like you could put either on blacklisted or no desire, because if you guys have, if anyone watching has read his recent article with Dalton Ross, as well as some of his tweets over the past year, or his interviews on Rob as a podcast, it's very clear that he's very upset with the show and how they portrayed him, and he has a very bad relationship with Jeff. And I think there's no chance. And I also don't think this would be a good season for him either.
I didn't realize all that. I was going to say you put him on the villains tribe, but I didn't realize all that. So yeah, it sounds like there's not a chance. And to Phil's point, he's 70. He doesn't look even remotely 70, but
yeah,
that's definitely a factor.
Yeah, I do think that age is something to take into account when coming with Philip. I also think that Philip is the type of guy where if age wasn't a factor, CBS and Philip would work something out before a Heroes versus Villains season, because at the end of the day, Philip Shepard is a massive draw. Like, he's a coach level draw for this show. And the fact that we haven't seen him in 14 seasons now, I think they would work something out. But I do think he's too old to play again. And I don't think that the desire is there for sure. I swear to God, if you even mention the next person's name, I'm leaving the podcast.
The next three are just like a 1, 2, 3 punch.
Yeah, but that's okay, because I like the man in the middle of those three. But if you say this person's name, you didn't put the Godfather on this list, and you're gonna make me utter these next two words. Are you kidding me?
Well, the question is, do we put him in blacklisted or just nah?
I think he's blacklisted.
I would think he's blacklisted.
You know what I would say? It's kind of like when Corinne said he wasn't voted out. You put him as not voted out. Like, you don't include him. So whatever that would be. But yeah, blacklisted for sure. He would sharpen the machete like Matt Van Ertfeldt and then maybe use it. So we don't need him.
For Cochran, blacklisted is completely the wrong word. But I know what you mean. Like, he obviously can't play, but I like him too much to use that word in front of him.
Could just put him in nah at him just to respect him.
Yeah. Because he would have been on Winners at War. I mean, he's Jeff's all-time favorite winner other than Boston Rob. So I think that he would have absolutely been on Winners at War if he could play again. So the fact that he wasn't on that just tells you everything you need to know about the fact that he'll never play Survivor again.
Well, is it because he's not allowed to, or is it just because he doesn't want to?
It might
because,
be a
like
bit
you
of
said,
both.
Andrea was allowed to come back for Game Changers.
I don't know if Andrea ever actually works for CBS.
I think she works for an affiliate of CBS, whereas like Cochran, the show that Cochran works for is a direct CBS show. And like the thing is, they have little mini production companies and stuff that they essentially make up for every show they make. Like it's all made up for tax purposes. But because CBS is the overseeing, entity, he can't work unless he loses that job. And generally CBS shows go for pretty much 10 years or they were a complete failure in the first year. His is going to go on and on and on. So I just don't think that we're ever going to see him again. And once you're a writer for a CBS show, you just kind of keep riding that wave.
I also can't imagine like the way that he and his win were received. I can't imagine he's like chomping at the bit to come back.
Yeah. Right. I think he said his piece. He got his $1 million. He got his career. He got to live his dream. And now it's kind of like the middle finger to the internet in a nice, nerdy way. He doesn't need to do it. He doesn't need to go back out there and have his whole life just like put on blast for really no apparent reason.
Right. So this next person, Monica, moving into One World, third season here. I feel like she's the first one that potentially could. I mean, I guess we put Andrea in the maybe, but I feel like Monica could potentially come. It's just it would be the question of, is she a hero or is she a villain? Because she hasn't really done anything like villain-esque. Like she hasn't done any like cast level moves. And it might also
put her in
depend
a
on what
villain.
season you look at.
It seems like a stretch to put her in as a hero, but I think she had like a generally neutral or somewhat likable demeanor. I can't think of anything really villainous.
I would put her as a hero before I put her as a villain. I think that what Survivor would do if they got this opportunity is possibly try to be gimmicky with it and get her as a hero and Brad as a villain, but I don't think Brad would play again. Not to jump ahead at him, but I don't think Brad would play again. But I think Monica would actually be a hero, not a villain, because of the storyline that she was given, which was, being the NFL wife and never really living for herself and overcoming that and making it to the end. And now a lot of people actually receive her win as heroic. Remember, she lost to a villain, which I think says more about the villain than her and just the cast in general. But I think that she's somebody who would probably end up as a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Cool. Put her in here, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. That's cool.
Gideon, how do you really feel?
Monica does what Monica wants to for Monica's sake.
Interesting. Okay, it's a way to put it.
Because she always talked about herself in third person, and it annoyed
me.
Sabrina's a weird one. I personally want to see her back. I feel like her game kind of went a little under the radar because it was all Kim, especially towards like the latter, like the seventh inning stretch of the what do you call it, the last leg of that season. Seventh inning stretch. I just watched
the break, not really the home stretch.
Yeah, home stretch. That's what I was looking for. I knew there was a stretch in there somewhere. I would like to see her back. Is this the season for her though? I feel like Second Chance might be better.
I feel like she really wants to play, and I know she's been like floating around for a while. But I think having 2 One World people in a cast, let alone 2 of them be heroes, is probably extremely unlikely. If anything, I would put her in there instead of Monica, but I think she's better fit on a Second Chances one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the problem you're running into here is like, even just looking at the names, this is why we haven't seen a Heroes Villains 2, is because you don't know where to put a lot of the players who are popular, because a lot of them have played too much and then they've kind of gone back and forth. Like there's no Rupert where the first 2 times he played, he was seen as a hero, even though he wasn't. Like there was no Rupert, and there was no Colby, and there is no like locked in, Boston Rob is a villain. We know that. Or you have the opposite problem, which is Sabrina's problem, which is who are you? And I think that while we remember who Sabrina is, and she has been floating around and she almost made it onto Second Chances, most people aren't going to remember her. And when you think about a hero and a villain, those are supposed to inspire some feelings in you. I don't think Sabrina inspires feelings in people anymore, not because of who she is, but because it's been 16 seasons since she played and One World sucks. So I think those 2 things are definitely working against her.
And with Monica, like you can call back to Brad's seasons and her seasons. Like I think, I guess maybe put her in the maybe, but I think you guys are right. Yeah. I don't think this is, I think she should come back. I don't think this is the right season.
Maybe.
If Troyzan was going to come, I don't think I could see him in a Heroes Tribe. I feel like if he did, I wouldn't mind seeing Troyzan back. I do like the energy he brings. I wish we would have. It was kind of all Sarah and Brad, and even Ty towards the end of Game Changers, so we really didn't get to see Troyzan too much. So when I think of him, I really only think of One World, even though he made it, the final tribal on Game Changers. But I wouldn't mind seeing him potentially on a Heroes Tribe, and I'm more so only saying that because we haven't put anyone there yet, and we got to fill some people in there. But I feel like Troy's at least got to be a maybe here, right?
How would you feel about him being on a top 100 list, Adam? That's the real question.
Anyway. I think if Troyzan got a call, he would come back on literally any season.
Yeah.
Troyzan, 100%, and I think he would be a hero. He didn't do anything villainous in the show. He's been a villain on our podcast before, that's for sure. But he hasn't done anything villainous in the show. And I think his arc in the first time, even though he was, this is my island and all that, that was kind of seen as heroic because he was going against the power. You go against the power, you're generally viewed as a hero rather than a villain. And then I also think that in his second season, his story was one of the more, even though it was barely seen, the moments he did get were definitely more positive. So I think he would definitely be on the Hero Tribe. 100% he would play. I mean, he would play tomorrow.
We put him on a Heroes Tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another thing too is like with the first Heroes and Villains, like obviously when they were off the show, unless they were doing like exit interviews, that was kind of all you would see from those guys. So now we have, their Instagrams and their Twitters. So I don't know if we would take into consideration, because sometimes Troyzan will do a bit of banter and smack talk on Twitter. I feel like it's all for fun. Like I feel like he only smack talks the people he's friends with. When I watched One World, I kind of saw it as less of a heroic heart and more of just a.
Yeah, I didn't see it as heroic then, but I think he, as a person, and I think his Game Changers game.
I just don't think there's a way to spin his One World game as villainous, considering how it's been played out since. Like, people talk like that was in the 30th anniversary magazine as one of the top 10 most memorable moments in Survivor history, which it's not. But I could see Jeff just sitting down and saying Troyzan's a hero because he stood up to Kim and her evil Black Widow,
Jeff, like,
whatever.
Loves Troyzan,
and he loves to overhype things that didn't actually exist. It's the same thing as how was Candace a hero? Well, she was a hero for mutinying. Really? Because I'm pretty sure you got like drawn and quartered if you mutinied back in the day. So I don't think that made you a hero. I think that made you a villain in the eyes of those who, you know, actually had a say and could kill you. Yeah. So that's just how I feel about that.
Okay. What do you think, Gideon? You want to be the tiebreaker here? I mean, I'm cool either way. I feel like this would be a good season for Troyzan, even though I'm cool with him being on either tribe. I do feel like this would be the season. I mean, I feel like any season would be for Troyzan. I just feel like he is a survivor.
I always saw him as a villain.
Even in Game Changers?
Not so much in Game Changers.
But yeah, I mean, in One World, I was rooting for Kim over him, but other people were rooting for him instead of Kim. So it's, you know, I think, you know,
I was rooting for who was playing the better game, which was Kim. So,
and I don't necessarily think though, like rooting for somebody makes them a hero or a villain, because people rooted for Russell and he was 100% a villain, you know? So I do think that doesn't necessarily impact it. I just think like, when coming out of One World, were we seeing Kim as a hero or a villain? And I actually almost think we were seeing Kim as a villain because of how she just ran her alliance into the ground. Very, I don't know what the word is, but there was no mercy almost, even when it came to her own friends. That's normally seen as a villain more than a hero when you go back and look through Survivor history. So, I mean, it could go either way. The problem with One World is there's really no good heroes or villains. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. So maybe we could put Troyzan in maybe, and then as the cast fills out a little more, maybe it'll be a little more evident like which one he fits in with a little bit.
To me, Troyzan to me could be a switch though, because like his just passion for the game. It's like Jonathan Pinner was seen as a villain type, but like then his passion for the game just made me view him as heroic just because he loves the game so much.
Absolutely. 100%.
I think Abby is a lock. Yeah, is a lock for villain. Does anyone disagree?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And she would play 100%. There's no way she wouldn't.
Yeah,
she's
and she's somebody that people would want to see come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though Abby Marie is actually like one of the nicest survivor, if not the single most nicest survivors I personally interviewed for the top 100. One of the absolute nicest. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to interact with her, but I've had nothing but great experiences. But on the show, clearly a villain.
I really like Abby. I would not want to live on an island with her for 39 days. But like, I really like Abby. I do agree. She's really nice in person. But then again, most of the villains on Survivor are. So is Philip Shepard. Philip Shepard's an unbelievable person. He's just weird on the show.
Yeah. Jeff Ken, lack of desire?
I think so.
It sucks. I love him so much. Okay, whatever.
I mean, Gideon, do you see any instance where Jeff Ken again?
No, I can't see why he would want to play, but he has one of my favorite moments when he said, it's 600,000 by the time Obama takes it. I almost died.
Why? Okay, so here's a question to you, Adam, since they're not on here. Where's Pete?
Where's who?
Pete Yurkowski.
I don't know. I must have maybe I blazed through a little quick. I definitely didn't want to. There definitely was people where I'm like, should we put them on here? Should we not? And I didn't want this to go on for too long. So at some points I had to just make the cut. Maybe there's a couple people I probably could have cut instead and put people like Carl and Pete on there.
I think you're going to be short on male villains just looking at this list, and I think Pete is an interesting male villain that I think probably would play again if asked.
I mean, to transition, I agree. I think Pete definitely would. I actually think you can make Malcolm a villain. I think he's charismatic, which is why he's like easily like can be a hero, but he does play he plays a sneaky game, and that can be villainous. I think I think Malcolm is someone who they call him, he'll play. They love him. Fans love him. He could play 100 times and he could be put on the season.
That's interesting, Alexa. I just don't think casting is ever going to put Malcolm Freeberg as a villain because it would almost confuse fan bases because like your parents watch the show, my parents watch the show. If you ask them if Malcolm is a hero or a villain, they will immediately say hero. It wouldn't even be a question.
Well, I think he could go on the Heroes Tribe. I think he would definitely be on this season.
I think that he would probably end up on the Heroes, though, especially with how he went out in Game Changers. I think that would kind of put it over the edge. I agree with you, though. I do think he's a lot more complex than people give him credit for. And the way he played in 26 is definitely more villainous than heroic. Yeah. But I just think for simplicity's sake, I think that ultimately, if we're doing this in even like a remotely realistic way, I just feel like Survivor would push for him to be heroic. Although I do think that you make a really good point that he's not as, clean as everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I agree. I think if you ask most like casual fans, I think when you think of Malcolm, you think of heroic because I feel like the season of his that resonates the most with people is Philippines, and I feel like that was probably his most because of how decimated his tribe was, and also just like the weather conditions he had to go through, and like the unlikely alliance, kind of things that lean towards hero. When you get into Caramoan, they kind of tilts, and I agree with what both you guys said. I think there's a lot of sneaky. I think if Malcolm's whole like Three Amigos alliance would have actually made it a bit further, and his idol play would have worked out a little better, his double idol play would have worked out a little better in Caramoan, I think we would have seen a lot more of the villain side of him come out in Caramoan, a lot of more, kind of Russell or Boston Rob type moves I think he wanted to make, but just didn't get the chance to. But if we're going to go to Russell, another guy on I think the only other guy here on Philippines, I feel like he would be a lock for Heroes if he would want to come back, which
I don't think he wants to come back.
I feel like, yeah.
So after he was voted out of Philippines, and I'm saying now, updating this all the way to season 40, I would say Deb Eaton, Jeff Barner, Zeke Smith are the only 3 people in the history of Survivor who have had a harder time after leaving Survivor their final time than Russell Swann. Russell Swann, he did an interview where he was so depressed. So it was like brutal to listen to. And I don't know if it was on RHAP or if it was on something else, but he was so depressed that I think the show is bad for him. And I think that if he went back out there, I think it would really, if he succeeded, great. But if he goes out in a Varner type position, it's only going to be more negative. And not obviously, I don't mean the circumstance. I just mean if he misses the merge again. I do think that it would ultimately lead to him just like hitting this dark spot. And I think that will just keep Russell Swann from ever going back out there to play again.
Yeah, I'm with that.
I would like to see Reynold back. I think he's kind of falls in the same boat of like a Sabrina or a Holly where it would maybe be second chance, or I'm assuming at some point they're going to want to do a fans versus favorites 3. And if they do the Eric move and bring back one of the favorites to then become, or bring back one of the fans to then become a favorite, I feel like Reynold is really the only option to do that from that season. So I don't know if this is for him.
I feel like if anything, I actually think he'd be a good villain. I think it'd be a fun contrast with Malcolm being on the Heroes tribe. I don't know if if in another fans versus favorites, I don't know if he could carry it. I don't know if he's interested though, but I don't think he's not. I figured he wasn't.
No, I think when Lynn Spillman, before she left the show, she did an interview where she said that Reynold, she always asks and he always says, no, I don't want to do it. And I think that's probably, and I actually think, Adam, I'm just here to give you a hard time because you didn't add The Godfather, but I actually think Eddie Fox would be the person that would play from fans versus favorites. And I think that Eddie Fox would go on the Heroes tribe with Andrea Belke. And I think that would ultimately be kind of a story that they try to make blossom again. The other thing, though, with that is I could see Troyzan also being on that tribe. And now you have Troyzan, who has played with literally almost everybody up there, or Andrea. Like the separation isn't there all of a sudden when you start looking at that hero tribe. But I think Eddie Fox would come back as a hero. I think he's actually gotten a weird amount of publicity and fandom since he left the show, even though he wasn't that popular on the season.
Okay. I know we kind of already said Brad maybe doesn't have the desire to come back. I mean, I think he was maybe, besides Russell, with maybe the person who was the most sure they were going to win coming into Final Tribal, at least what I've heard, and then to not win. I mean, granted, Russell lost to Natalie, whereas Brad lost to Lucina, who I think was a fantastic winner for an otherwise kind of lackluster season. But I think that may have demotivated him a lot. I think even though he kind of had like that arc of being on the bottom and winning all the challenges, I still kind of see Brad as a villain. And like you said, I think I can't remember who said it, but it would kind of be cool to see him villain, Monica hero, which I'm sure Jeff would drool at seeing that sort of.
Yeah, Jeff would love it.
Thing. Should we put him as a maybe? I don't know.
I would put him as a maybe because I have a feeling that we're going to be pulling from our maybes.
Yeah. Sierra's played 3 times already. Is she done on this show?
I feel like as a fan, I've gotten what I needed. I don't think she's against playing again, and I think CBS loves her.
She'd be on the Villains tribe 100%.
Yeah.
100%. There's no way. Sierra would say yes. I also think, like, I don't know if you follow Sierra on social media or anything like that. She's quite vocal. I don't care if people are vocal. I just tune them out or I don't. And I think she's quite vocal in a way that she knows will piss off a lot of people. And I think she does that on purpose. I really do. I think she doesn't care. And that's fine. Like, I think, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say, that's on you. You use your social media how you want. It's up to people if they follow you or not. And I think she purposely does these things because she knows she's going to get a rise out of people and she's going to get to kind of, give people the middle finger when she wants to. I think she kind of gave people the middle finger on Survivor when she wanted to. So I think she'd be a good villain for sure. Very popular still amongst younger people. And I think she'd be a good one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she'd be a good, I think she'd be a good villain too. I guess it's just I think she would come back and I think CBS would want her back. So I guess that's probably enough. I'm cool with putting her in the villains. It's just, do you think fans would be like, oh, we got to see Sierra again? I mean,
the one thing I think preventing that from happening, and Alexa, tell me if you agree or disagree, is the fact that she went out first in Game Changers. Because even though she's played 3 times, she really only played twice from what people are going to remember.
I honestly don't think that's too huge of a deal. I think Sierra plays like a similar game no matter when or what she does. I think CBS would love to have her back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was saying that more as why fans wouldn't be tired of her and why CBS.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think fans.
Because Malcolm's also played 3 times, but it doesn't feel like he has because his 3rd time was so short lived.
Right.
And Sierra's was even more short lived.
Even more short lived.
Going on to Blood versus Water, I would love to see Hayden back. I feel like he's like up there as like a top 5, like people who have only season for him. It's just, I feel like he didn't, from what I've heard, he didn't really have that much fun out there. Maybe it was because, the season was a little weird. Wasn't like a traditional Survivor season. I've heard he has no desire to come back. But But I don't know. What do you guys think about Hayden?
I think if anything, I'd put him in a hero's position, but if he doesn't want to come back, then
I'd put him as a maybe for now, because I'm almost assuming that if they were casting this show, that's where they would put him. They wouldn't know, but they would say exactly what Alexa did. Hero's position, but if we can't get him, like, we got to have other alternatives. And I think Hayden is somebody a lot of people want to see play again. I think he just likes Big Brother better.
Yeah, he does. He for sure does. Did he play Big Brother twice? Or just once?
You're asking the wrong people.
You're asking the wrong people.
That's for Gideon. Gideon, do you have any idea?
Gideon?
He's muted. Or something.
I think Vita can't hear you.
Gideon, we can't hear you. I don't know if you want to try disconnecting or reconnecting or something real quick.
I assume Vetus is blacklisted.
He's definitely blacklisted. That's
blacklisted. I mean, I would have for sure put him in Knob, but why is he? I must
leave the pre-jury trip early.
He left in second chances.
Oh, that's right.
He bailed, and that's why they gave him the edit they did. I
forgot about that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will say this about the blacklisted. And this is to kind of plug our interview with Fair Play that you guys can all watch. One thing that I like, one of the biggest takeaways from the interview with Fair Play is, according to him, is that the idea of a blacklisted player isn't as firm with production as a lot of people think. He said that to answer his patrons, he actually called one of the Survivor producers like live on one of his Patreon videos or something, and like just straight up asked like, who is actually blacklisted? And production said, to be honest, there's only two names. And this was just a couple months ago. There's only two names that are actually blacklisted, which is Dan and Scoopman at this point.
It wasn't Johnny and Fair Play.
Yeah, after doing it on a podcast.
Yeah, what he said was after a couple, like once a couple seasons have passed, I mean, things might be a little different like nowadays, more so than ever, because I think they're being a little bit more careful. But from what Fair Play alluded to, is that the Survivor blacklist is definitely not as, like, they're willing to let a lot of bygones be bygones if at the end of the day it brings them ratings and money and views.
I'll tell you what, bringing Dan back onto the show would certainly get people's attention. That's for sure. So if they want to do that, and how is Jeff Varner not blacklisted? That's just a question. I'm just throwing that out there. That's just a question. But anyway, sure, it's just those two people.
Because he apologized, right?
I guess. I don't know. I think that Johnny Fairplay might have called the wrong producer. Come at me, Johnny. Come at me. But anyway,
here's the thing. Cass and Spencer to me are locks for villains. Except, do we want to see them on a tribe for a third time? Together?
I personally don't want to. I know CBS would.
Yeah. You know what the biggest problem is, Adam? This whole thing you're doing is second chances. It's like, it's either second chances or it's game changers. It's a lot of similarity. And if you put Cass and Spencer, now you have Cass, Spencer, Abby, and Sierra. That's the 4 of the final 12 or 13 of Survivor Second Chances.
Mm-hmm. Well, should we pick
a lock for sure?
Do we? Yeah, I think if any of them are a lock, even though I personally think Spencer is a better.
Might not play.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he would come back for this sort of. I feel like Spencer at this point would only want to come back if this is like this rumored like legend season, or I know a lot of people are saying that Survivor might do the challenge type thing and go like ham on some kind of special season for this new Paramount Plus. That might be the sort of thing for him. Don't know if even though Heroes and Villains 2 like is of course going to be like, oh, is it going to match Heroes and Villains 1? But I think because there's already so many, there was a lot of people on Heroes and Villains 1 that we wanted to see come back that we hadn't seen in a while. Or I feel like this cast is going to be people that we've already seen like 3 times already. Mm-hmm. So I'd be cool putting Cass and putting Spencer and maybe the Lack of Desire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. I think Tosh is a hero. I just don't know if she's remembered enough.
I think she's remembered.
Yeah, I think you could slip her in.
Yeah,
In a hero, or put her in maybe for now?
in a hero.
Maybe put her in hero.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. I mean, she definitely felt like the most heroic of the Brains tribe, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, she seemed to be the
So
sanity of that tribe.
yes. So I think it was like, I don't know if she's like a quintessential hero, but like she had such a great contrast in her first season because everyone else was so clearly a villain. I mean, you had one of the greatest, if not the single greatest female villain of all time on her tribe with her. So those two being kind of like the most standout female players from that tribe, it was that contrast between her and Cass, I think, made her appear a lot more heroic. But I'm definitely cool putting her on heroes. Is this Jaclyn's season, Gideon? Does she come back?
Mm.
I feel like he's squinting to see who that is.
I had to think.
Jaclyn, it's Jaclyn Schultz, San Juan del Sur.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see. Yeah, 'cause she looked so much different. I was like, wait, what? Oh
Yeah.
crap! I don't
It's
know.
very small in our screens for.
Do you think it's when she's? Do you think she'd come back for heroes versus villains, or do you think that
I
like
don't.
that's the time? I don't
I
think it's
don't.
the time for her to come back quite yet.
She should have been on Game Changers. And the fact that they didn't put her on Game Changers, I think pretty much ended her chances of coming back. I think Jaclyn's great. I think she's super underrated. But I think that she would have had to have come back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would be cool with her on like a second chance season, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I really like Jaclyn. I think Jaclyn's a really good player.
Yeah.
Who got kind of screwed the fact that she had to play with John, who was just all over the place and didn't get it.
Right.
But yeah, I think for sure Jaclyn. I don't think she fits this though. I don't think she fits this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, she didn't fit it.
Yeah. I'm not too. I think this is a good number for now because I feel like most of like the heroes and villains one came from the 11 to 19 span anyway. So I feel like we're gonna start knocking players into the heroes into the tribe soon.
I also think a big thing was we've seen a lot of those players play again, or they've become forgotten, and now we're going to get into the post second chance phase, and I think that's going to change a lot.
Yeah.
That being said, I personally do not need to see Keith again.
Oh, I want him so bad.
But he would probably go in heroes. Like I think you can put him in there.
He's a hero.
Alexa, we need him driving a tuk-tuk and not knowing what the hell's going on.
We need more tuk-tuk moments.
Just triggered my Alexa. Alexa, stop.
I say that all the time, and you never do.
I know. She heard that one loud and proud.
No, I think Keith, because he's so one of a kind, you have to think that since Keith played, you have not gotten a character like Keith. And if Keith says yes, which I think he would always say yes, he's comedic relief. And I think that's why they would do it. But I do agree, Alexa. What is he going to bring back to the game?
Nothing. But yeah.
Surprisingly good challenge competitor, though. He was giving Joe a run for his money in some of those Cambodia challenges.
I think the problem with Keith is he would finish between 4th and 5th again. Like that's just where he's bound to finish every single time.
Yeah. So you guys know Kelly a lot better than we do. Would she come back for this sort of season, or is she kind of in that Spencer boat where she kind of wants to save maybe like a 4th return for like another All Stars or Paramount Plus or Legends? What are you thinking for Wentworth?
I don't think.
I think she'd be a lock for heroes if she would do it.
I don't know. I don't think she would.
I don't think she would. I think it's interesting though. You'd have to ask me now that this whole COVID thing hit if her opinion changed. But I know before it hit, she really didn't have an interest. After 38, she seemed done. She seemed just absolutely fed up and done. And so I think it would be just ask that her opinion changed because of COVID, and now she's got the adventure bug again. But I don't think so. I think your next person is a hero.
Next
her
person,
TikTok bio is still retired Survivor player. So,
Mama C, I think is an easy hero.
Do you agree, Gideon?
Yeah. I love Mama C. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, and she's been so close all the time.
Yeah, she deserves to get back on, dude. Like, there's been so many times she should have been on, but
absolutely.
Joe's gonna be in there.
If anyone watching's a fan, check out our interview with Mama C coming out this weekend.
There you go.
Joe, is he a nah or is he blacklisted at this point?
Probably
just
either.
a nah. Or either one though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll be cool putting him in now.
It's interesting if they would just go
take
based.
care of the Sierra baby.
It would be interesting if they would go just based on Survivor gameplay, or if they would go on personality outside of Survivor too, though. Because if it's just based on Survivor gameplay, which ultimately is what I think a lot of this stuff is supposed to be based on, I think he's a hero for sure, and I think they love him. Like, I think he would absolutely be a hero. I mean, I think a lot of times now, because people's social media presences are so vocal, to some people Joe might be a hero, to others he's a villain, and it's like. I think that's the problem. So do you go based on that, or do you go based on what he did on the show, which I think most people would say he's a hero for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe they'll just not invite him to avoid the confusion.
I also he's so tired. His character is so tired.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. He made the top 100, Alexa.
I wasn't on mine.
No.
I think so. We don't have any winners yet, because we excluded winners at war contestants. To me personally, Mike is a lock for heroes here.
Yeah, I think
put him in there.
Okay. He was close to making winners at war from everything I hear. So I think that they've wanted him on the list for a while. I think he would definitely come back for heroes villains, and he'd have a massive target on his back right away because he's won and nobody else has.
I would have loved to see him on Winners. He said they never even called him. I would have loved to see him on.
Oh, that's crazy.
On Winners at War. I thought he was like, if I was making my kind of mental predictions, I thought he was a lock.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we casted ours, we put him on.
I think Rodney could be a fun villain.
I agree. I want Rodney to be a villain. Our first male villain is.
We did it. We did it. An hour in, and we finally have a male villain.
Yeah,
because the Godfather isn't okay. Go ahead.
I agree.
Aubrey, hard lack of desire.
Hard lack of desire. There's no way.
Yeah,
really.
Her Edge of Extinction experience was not good, and I think that it was the antithesis of what her first two experiences were, and I think she's done with it. She's had her full gauntlet of Survivor.
Yeah, maybe
she's definitely been put through the ringer.
Yeah.
I think if she would return, it would have to be at least 10, 15 seasons from now, way in the future, where that desire is slowly built up over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. And also, it's interesting. I wanted to say that Rodney's our first male villain, because male villain was probably the strongest section in the first Heroes versus Villains with, Coach, Russell, Tyson, who would have been the other?
Rob.
Randy and Boston Rob.
Oh, yeah. So four of those were pretty heavy hitters. So it's interesting that we are lacking a little bit, but maybe coming up we might add a few.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Sydney come back on the Heroes Tribe.
I think she would play again too.
I agree. Yeah.
I think it took. Yeah. I think she needed to have her career kind of with the bodybuilding and everything start to get to wherever it needed to go. But I think now that she's older, she'd probably be more willing to play this because she's no longer in the prime of her career. I think that's a big difference maker.
Yeah.
No.
Debbie is such a nah for me.
I know. I can hear Randy Jackson's voice in my head.
No.
I can hear him. I can hear him saying that's a nah for me, dog. That's
yeah. I'm good. I got what I needed.
Come on, guys.
Personally, I am not a Ty fan. At all. For me, it would be a hard nah for Ty, but if you guys want to put him in there,
I would say no, because there's too many other male heroes, and we're probably going to end up knocking off one of the three that are already up there.
Right.
Yeah, I don't need Ty.
Let him get to the top 4 and get voted out.
or get to final 3 and get no votes.
Yeah, that too. One of them.
We'll put him in maybe. Is David same thing as Cochran? He's not allowed to play?
Same thing as Cochran because of the Star Trek show for sure.
All right, we'll put him in. Where do we put Cochran? We put him in nah, or we'll keep him in nah out of respect.
Too nice to be blacklisted.
Jay, this one's a very interesting one to me because I don't know if he's been blacklisted or not, but I think he has.
You think
Oh,
with
really?
the challenge or with something else?
I think because of the challenge. I think that him going on the challenge pissed off CBS because it opened this whole like Pandora's box of Survivor players going on the challenge. And Survivor doesn't want that. They want Survivor players to be Survivor players who they can keep pulling from all the time. That's why I think it took so long. And I think that Jay might have put himself in a bad position there. Because think about it. Why wasn't like, not that Jay could have come back for Edge of Extinction maybe, but it seems like he's not even really being considered for these types of things. So I don't know. I think Jay's been blacklisted.
I wouldn't have guessed that, but okay. Let's do
I
it.
thought they wouldn't care since it was all Paramount.
Well, now it is, but it wasn't. And also it's just one of those things where Survivor is supposed to be like the golden goose. And there is a competition between Survivor and the Challenge for sure, because they've both been around for so long. And I think that going to an MTV show from a CBS show is definitely a bad look for Jay.
Yeah.
Well, on the other side of that, though, Jay's popularity has like kind of skyrocketed since
That's
then.
what
Like
I was thinking. You bring challenge fans over.
His Instagram followers have just, like quadrupled in size. So they also might want to bite the bullet and say, okay, well, even though he did that, he would also be bringing so many new fans that watch the challenge that don't watch it.
I don't think he would, though. It's not like Hayden brought a bunch of Big Brother fans. And I don't think that Instagram followers and things like that really translate as much as you would think. At the end of the day, if 8 million people are watching and Jay has 70,000 Instagram followers, that is so small of a number in that 8 million that they don't even care.
He got a lot of Instagram followers because he's hanging out with a certain Survivor lady. Well.
That's exactly what it is. And I'm following because I want to know what's going on. But unless he's got
I didn't know about this. I gotta look it up.
Unless he's got about 2 million Instagram followers, which maybe he does because I don't go on Instagram.
No, he does not. He has about what you said, which is like
it doesn't matter. It's such a small number that it's this whole inflated ego thing. Not for him, but in general, that's what social media is. Where if you get 100 likes, you're like, oh my God, I got 100 likes. If I got 10,000 likes, oh my God, I got 10,000 likes. Okay, 10,000 out of 326 million Americans or whatever it is. That's not very many. And I think that 70,000, it sounds like a big number because compared to other people, that's a big number. But when you really look at it, that's a lot of people not caring. So, yeah, I don't think it's the same audience. The people who watch the challenge, those 70,000, they're not going to watch every single episode of Jay on.
Yeah, he was at like 25K before Michelle. Then after Michelle, he was at 170,000. So
okay,
wow. Maybe we could put him in maybe, and if like we absolutely have to throw an extra face in there for the villains,
I think that would work.
Michaela, is this the season for her to return? Because I feel like
she's a villain, but I just don't think that she wants to play again.
Yeah,
I think the back kind of sucked for her.
Yeah, so maybe lack of desire is the best for her.
You can definitely put lack of desire for your next guy.
Yeah.
That was Zeke Smith, everybody, if anybody was wondering. There's no way he's playing Survivor.
Chrissy, there's you either get an awesome villain or a lack of desire.
I need to see her as a villain. Come on.
I think she would play again. I really
hope
do.
She would. I know she's was probably quite upset with how everything went with her season, but that being said, she'd be an awesome villain.
At least now, if she comes back, she knows it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could, there's the redemption thing there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Imagine her winning Final Four fire making and then going on and winning a Final Three.
That would be the greatest. Oh, that would be a great moment. Yes.
Does Devin lead towards hero or villain?
I think he leans towards lack of desire.
He said he'd only play a blood versus water.
Yeah.
Although he would be a hero if he did.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah. Well, maybe a maybe.
Maybe you're gonna hit 5 men, no problem for heroes though. Like no problem.
Yeah. Dr. Mike, he would
him.
come back.
This isn't his season.
I don't like him. like not don't like him. I just don't like him as one of these two. I think they tried to make him one of like a hero or a villain, and it just didn't work. Like to me, Joe Mena, somebody who's not on this list, could have definitely been a villain here because I think he's got a good relationship with CBS. And yeah, I just think that he would be a good villain. Like he was a fun villain on his season, and I think he would be the person they'd bring back over Dr. Mike.
Yeah. Now I know when you were talking about Kim, you had mentioned that kind of the character of having a lot of power seems to often fall in the villain side of things. Do you think Dom would maybe lean more towards villain? Because I think so.
Yeah,
100%.
villain.
Great
Yeah, villain
villain.
male. I don't know how you couldn't put him there.
Especially if we are considering like post-Survivor social media presence. I think he's kind of established himself as similar to Troy Zan. He's had a bit of a smack talk and isn't afraid to kind of state his opinion and specifically on like Survivor related things. I mean, I love Dom, and I was rooting for him and Wendell, maybe a little more so Wendell, but I would have been happy, I guess, if Dom had won. But like you said, just because you're rooting for someone does not mean, in the Survivor world, does not mean that they are a hero. Like obviously, everyone voted for Russell, or everyone voted for Spencer, Boston Rob. Michael, is he a lock for hero?
I am so uninspired by him.
I think that he was popular because of how bad of a season Ghost Island was. I don't think anybody has mentioned Michael Yerger since Ghost Island ended, though. I think that people have just totally lost their love for him.
As I'm looking down the line, I don't think he's going to fit in that male hero
Yeah.
spot.
And I mean, you could put him as a maybe. He should have been Joe Anglim on Edge of Extinction if you were going to do anything. Like, he should have filled that role, but they didn't use him there. And now I just think, I don't know. The whole thing that was interesting about him is that he was 18.
Yeah.
Isn't that so interesting, guys? All right, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting.
Okay, well, you'll be older soon, and then you won't think it's as interesting anymore. So
Yeah, you're right.
I think Angelina is kind of in a similar boat as someone like Jaclyn and Sabrina, where I feel like a second chance would be so much better of a season.
She's like the coach.
Yeah,
I want to have her back.
You think she's a villain?
Yeah.
And I think Angelina would play, no doubt. She's got the kid and everything, but the kid's not a baby anymore. So I think that she'd be okay with like leaving maybe for a little bit. And she is the quintessential villain. And she would play on any season. And I think, like Alexa said, she is the coach. Coach didn't understand why he was a villain. I think Angelina understands why she's a villain, but she would try to be like, I'm not a villain, and still play villainous.
It'd be awesome.
It'd be great.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing her there. I still personally think second chance would be better, but I'm also looking, and like there's all the females in the maybes are definitely leaning hero. And looking at who's coming up, I don't think we're gonna have anyone else for villain. So I definitely think it makes the most sense to. So we've completed one subsection, the female villains. So.
So now here's my question to you. And I know I'm kind of jumping this a little bit, but to go out of order just briefly, let's be real. Out of the men you have left here, Christian, Davey, and Rick are the three that would be in discussion here. Yeah. Would they cut
Not Tommy?
Tommy would probably be a villain because everybody thinks he's boring. But no, I'm just saying Christian, Davey, and Rick are so much more popular than Tommy. I would love to see Tommy play again, but those three are so much more popular than Tommy. I think you have to put all three of them onto the heroes and drop Malcolm or Keith, probably Keith.
Oh,
okay,
definitely.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
I like that. I was gonna say you could even put Chris Underwood in there.
I think he would be a villain.
Yeah, because everybody hates him.
But he won. And I honestly think that they would use the whole thing of he was given half an idol by Rick Devens to keep him in the game and then made fire against Rick, ruining Rick's chances of winning instead of making fire against somebody else. Like, I definitely think that that's the angle that CBS would take, and they call him a villain.
I think making him a villain, it like admits their fault with Edge of Extinction.
That's
Mhm.
true,
I'm
too.
fine with him not being on it,
Yeah.
Well,
but I
also,
think that they would put him on.
I think they would want him and Rick to be on opposing tribes. I think they
Yeah.
would want
They'd
them
like
to.
that.
Is there
To
any way to
clash.
call? There's no way to call Rick a villain based on the edit.
Oh, I think Rick is the biggest lock for hero male
Yeah.
on this whole list, personally.
Yeah, I'd put those 3 in.
So if we want to skip ahead,
So
and I think
Josh-
Davey too.
I think Davey
And
and Christian.
So
Yeah,
do we knock
I
out
agree.
Keith?
Yeah.
I think
then?
you
Yeah.
knock out Keith and pretty much knock him to a nah or a maybe.
Well, I'll put him maybe.
Yeah, just to make
I
him
don't-
feel that. I don't want him to cry when he
Um,
watches this.
Yeah. Okay. Mike.
Yeah.
Nah. I'm thinking nah.
I'm going nah.
I'm going
Okay.
nah.
Okay, so then Chris will also, I guess,
Villain?
put in
Or
maybe.
no? Oh, I thought you said you
I
wanted to
think
put him
Dean would
opposite.
maybe be more of a villain than Chris, but I know
I
that there's
do.
the Chris versus Rick thing.
I
Yeah,
would.
I would love to
I
see-
agree with Dean and villain.
Mhm.
Would Dean
Yeah.
come back over Tommy?
Probably.
For this
Yeah.
season, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works
for
in.
this season. So we can also we'll put Tommy in maybe for this.
Poor Tommy.
Is this the season for any of these three? Maybe Janet for heroes.
I think Janet
Yeah.
for hero women to round it out for sure.
Totally.
Yeah,
so
I
is
think.
she more of hero than Andrea would be because she's really the only.
Definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I actually.
Janet to me was the person that I thought was a lock as a female hero.
Yeah, and I think if you didn't do this in the order you did, Janet would have been the first person we would have named. And then I'm gonna be honest with you, I would remove Tasha and put Lauren in because I think Lauren is very, very popular, a
And
very
she's
good
still
personality.
involved, and she's
Yeah. And I think
Yeah, I'm a
Tasha's run
Lauren
her
fan.
course. I think that getting 0 votes at a final tribal council is a lot more detrimental to your game and your
Than
chances of
losing
coming
fire,
back
yeah.
than people really think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put
How many
Lauren
0
in.
vote finalists have played Survivor again? Not many.
Yeah. Okay.
The only hesitance I have to put Lauren is, even though we have people that have played in the same season, at the moment we don't have anyone on the same tribe that played on the same original season as as someone else on their tribe. Which I believe I guess they didn't do that in the first one because they had Coach and
Yeah.
Tyson.
I think it's
Tyson.
okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean,
yeah,
they
don't-
also
Okay.
had Amanda and Parvati and Sari all in the same season. So I would say Tasha gets booted and Lauren gets in.
So who are we?
And we
missing?
just need 2 more male villains.
And then
Two male
Victoria,
villains.
I don't think Victoria is necessarily a nah. I think that production, so I guess it would be a nah. I don't think production really cares for Victoria as much as the fan base did. And I think a lot of that
Yeah.
had to do with because of me.
Male villain.
I think
Um,
for the, I mean, maybe we stick Chris Underwood in for one of those villain positions.
Yeah, I'm down.
Do you want to do Chris and Jay? Would that make the most sense? Because even though I said what I said about Jay, maybe it's not as big of a deal anymore.
I would do those 2.
That's
Yeah.
the two I would do.
Yeah, me too.
So Chris and Jay. And then in terms of the female villains, we're pretty much set there because Andrea and Sabrina definitely wouldn't fit in a villain role.
Yeah.
So really it would just come down to Monica or Sydney being interested or them saying, no, we want Andrea, not Monica, or we want Sabrina, not Monica to come back and play again. Although I do like the dynamic of Monica, Carolyn, and Janet, 3 older women all starting on the same tribe. I think
Yeah,
that would be
I like that
freaking
a lot.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Rattle
that's
them
the cat.
off, man. Rattle them off so everybody knows.
So yeah, with heroes we got Monica, Sydney, Mama C, Janet, Lauren, Malcolm, Mike are I think the only Mike. So we have a winner, one winner on each,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, so
Yep.
that's cool. That's a good dynamic. I know the first heroes and villains we had 2 winners on each, but we also didn't have a winners at war season. We also have Rick, Davey, Christian. The female villains Abby, Maria, Chaos, Cass, Sierra, Chrissy, Angelina, and we got Rodney, Dom, Dean, Chris, and Jay. That villains tribe is definitely the comic relief tribe.
It's pretty amazing how bad
Great.
the 20s were, that this looked like a lost cause early on. And then as soon as you started naming the 30s people, we started running out of room. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing how shitty the 20s
That
were.
was a tough 10 seasons.
Yeah,
Horrible.
absolutely. Well, very cool. So there's our list. We're going to call Jeff in about an hour, I believe the FaceTime was, to let him know his picks so he could start making the calls out. But yeah, that's our list. Guys, thanks
And
so much
Alexa
for joining.
and I are actually going to be Island of the Idols-esque people on that season. So, yeah.
Thanks for having us. This was fun, guys.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Go check out the Specialist channel. Do you guys have anything coming up you wanted to throw out there real quick?
Tomorrow night, Phil and I are continuing our classic Survivor episode series where we highlight a different classic Survivor episode, and we're doing one of our most recent episodes tomorrow. We are going to be talking about the Survivor Cagayan merge and what that meant for Survivor history. And spoiler, it meant quite a bit. So tune in tomorrow night. We're doing it on the earlier side at 5:30. Thanks for having us on, guys. This was really cool. This was good.
Thanks, guys.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, and if
absolutely.
you haven't checked out Adam and Gideon's video on our YouTube channel, they did a tier ranking for the winners, and that's on our YouTube channel. So check that one out as well as you start to watch the Survivor buffs with their abnormally large heads on small bodies and chairs. Just saying.
Absolutely. Go ahead and give us a like, give us a subscribe. There's our logo plug. Join our Discord. Link in the description. Guys,